Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I am Leanne and this is True Crime. Today we are going to be discussing the movie Scream. I'm sure everybody has probably heard of Scream. Now whether everybody has saw Scream or not, I don't know, but I'm sure everybody's probably heard of it.
Hello?
Why don't you want to talk to me?
Who is this?
You tell me your name, I'll tell you mine.
I don't think so.
What's that noise?
Popcorn.
You making popcorn?
Uh-huh.
I only eat popcorn at the movies.
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
Halloween.
But did you know that Scream was actually based off of true events? The man who wrote the screenplay for Scream actually said that he got his inspiration from the Gainesville Ripper, who had killed 5 college students. Gainesville Ripper was actually known as Danny Rawlings. And Danny Rawlings was born May 26, 1954 to James and Claudia Rawlins. He lived in Shreveport. And from an early age, Danny was abused by his dad. The first account of Danny being abused by his dad was when he was a year old, and his dad beat him for not crawling the correct way, or for not crawling the way that he thought he should have crawled. Danny was a pretty troubled child. At age 11, he picked up playing the guitar and singing hymns to just try and cope with some of the abuse. His mom was mentally ill, so she was not there to help Danny. She did try to leave on several occasions, but she always ended up coming back. She actually had a mental breakdown at one point in time and was institutionalized. At age, I think about 14, Danny started doing drugs pretty heavily and alcohol to try and cope. He tried joining the Navy as a way to escape, but the Navy wouldn't take him, so he ended up joining the Air Force. But eventually he was dishonorably discharged from the Air Force for excessive drug use, and he had done acid like over 100 times. He married his wife at the age of 19, but after only 4 short years of marriage, she ended up leaving him because he had threatened to kill her. So that tells me that he probably took after his dad and started abusing his wife. After his wife had left him, he raped a woman who looked just like his ex-wife. And he had another thing that didn't help with Danny's mental mind frame, I guess that's how you could say it, is that he was in a car accident and he killed, like, the woman that was in the car accident with him actually died. So that was another thing that did not help with Danny. But he mainly did petty crimes, theft. Well, theft is shoplifting. Theft, robberies. He was in and out of jail in Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, and Alabama. Do y'all mind not barking? He actually broke out of prison several times. He couldn't hold a job. In May of 1990, which was right before the killings in Gainesville happened, Danny had went to his parents' house and confronted his dad. Now, supposedly his dad shot at him first, but Danny ended up shooting his dad twice, and one bullet hit his dad between his eyes, and the other bullet hit his dad in the chest. So Danny assumed that he had killed his dad, but his dad survived, and he ended up losing just an eye and one of his ears. So just so far in this short amount of time, Danny does sound very, very troubled. Like, very troubled. Alright, y'all, too. Danny ended up breaking into someone's house and stealing their identity, and he moved to Sarasota, Florida in July of 1990 as Michael Kennedy Jr. So he took on this guy's identification. Couldn't think of the word. When Danny started his killings in Gainesville, they were pretty horrific. He actually decapitated one of the women that he killed and placed her head up on a bookshelf so that she could see her body or something like that. But he would slice off their nipples and just pretty much mutilate the bodies. And he would pose them in front of mirrors. I don't know the point of the mirrors. The women that he killed were all brunettes, brown-eyed, petite, just like his, they were built just like his mom. So that makes me wonder if these women that he killed were surrogates for his mom, because maybe he held so much anger toward his mom for never getting him out of the living situation that he was in with his dad. And so therefore, when the rage come out, he killed women that looked like his mom. He did kill one man, and that male was a roommate to another one of the females that he had killed. There was also in 1989 a killing of a dad, his daughter, and her nephew in Shreveport, and that killing resembled the college student killings a lot, and Danny actually ended up confessing to all of the murders. So he confessed that he also killed those 3 people in Shreveport in 1989. So altogether, he ended up killing 8 people. He was found guilty, but they really didn't have anything on Danny. They didn't know who was doing it in the beginning, and Danny had been arrested for a robbery. So he was in jail when they were investigating, and the robbery that he did had happened the same day as the first female, Krista Hoyt, was killed. So the robbery happened the same day that she was killed. And they had Danny had a campsite that he stayed at because he was homeless and he just roamed from place to place, but he had a campsite that he camped at, and they actually found a cassette tape with Danny on it singing, and he was singing a hymn that he had wrote about killing people. So that was what made them decide to start investigating Danny for the murders. But he did end up confessing to all of the murders. He had gotten like 5 life sentences, I think it was, for robberies. And then he was serving 100-something years also. And then when he was found guilty and sentenced for his, for the murders, he ended up getting he was sentenced to death. Sorry, had a major brain fart right there. But his execution was on October 25th, 2006. And he was executed via lethal injection. And during his execution, he actually sang a hymn during his execution. So apparently music did bring him some peace and comfort. Now, Discovery Plus recently put out a documentary called Scream: The True Events. And I watched it because I was already planning on doing this video on Danny. So I wanted to watch the movie just to see if it would give me any more insight into Danny. Buddy, can y'all go in there and play? Go in there and play. Go in the living room and play. But I watched it, and what it was a group of paranormal investigators who actually went to the childhood home of Danny and investigated because the new owners of that home claimed that the home was haunted. So there was a little bit more information that came out of that documentary that I did not find online. One thing they said was that they thought maybe Danny could have been cursed by a generational curse that was started with his grandpa, because his grandpa had supposedly sawed off his wife's head with a kitchen knife in front of Danny's dad and killed her. I don't know how true that is, because like I said, all of this came from that documentary and I haven't read anything about it online. Supposedly Danny's dad would rape his mom like all the time, was very abusive toward the mother, which I could see if he was abusive toward the kids, then he was probably abusive toward the mama also. But one thing that they learned while doing their investigation, and like I said, this is all supposedly because I'm not sure how true any of this is, but one thing they learned was that supposedly Danny was being possessed by a demon named Gemini, and Gemini would possess him at the campsite that he was at, and that the possession would take place right before he would go murder a new victim. So like I said, I don't know how true that is, but to me, I think Danny was a very smart man, but I think that Danny was mentally impaired due to the abuse that he suffered at the hands of his own dad growing up. Some people can grow up and turn their bad childhoods around and come out very successful people and drop the, I would say, how a lot of people turn into their parents, and if they were abused as kids, then they grow up and they abuse their kids. But some people can turn it around and do better than what their parents did. But in Danny's case, he did not do better, and I think that he was traumatized by a lot of his childhood, and that's one of the things that just led him to this life of crime and to the murders. Buddy, can y'all please, who is that? Is that somebody here? Go see who it is. But I think that's one of the things that just led him to this life of crime. It was a very interesting case to explore and to dive into and do research on. At the end of this video, I will share some of the writings and pictures that he drew while he was in prison. While he was in prison, he was engaged to a woman named Sandra London. And she is if you don't know who she is a true crime author. And she was doing a book on his cellmate that he was in prison with. So that's how he found out about her. And he wrote her asking her if she would come and do his story, like write his life story. And she ended up falling in love with him, and they ended up getting engaged, which I don't know what the point was getting engaged when he's sentenced to death, so he's never going to step outside of that prison. But that was also very interesting because they were very controversial, and there was a lot of controversy around Sandra and Danny. It got to where when he would speak to the press, it was just pretty much him defending Sandra. He never had much to say about his crimes or of what he had done or anything. And there was one instance where he was in court and they asked him if he had any last words, and instead of doing any last words, he sang a song to Sandra, who was standing there in the courtroom too. So that was a very interesting relationship between the two of them. But I thought that was a pretty interesting story, and to find out that Scream was to find out that Scream was inspired by that story, when I never knew that. And like I said, Scream came out in 1996, and I never had a clue that it was based on a true story. I know that there's a lot of horror movies that are based on true events, or they are inspired, not based off of, but inspired by true events like Ed Gein and stuff like that. But I did not know that Scream was one of them, and I don't think many people do know that Scream was one. But that's pretty much all I have for today, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. Today's video was a little chaotic. You know, the dogs are running around, and this is my first one, so I'm just a little bit nervous and kind of rambling some and all over the place. But I hope that they get better as time goes on, and I'm going to try and post 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and do a different subject every time, but it will always be on some type of true crime. And I really hope everybody enjoyed the video. If you did, then, you know, give me a thumbs up, give me a like. It really helps me out. Comment on my video. If you have anything that you think is interesting and that I should research and do a video on, then feel free to comment it down below. Once I hit 50 subscribers, I will do some live videos to where we can discuss and come together and set up a certain time or day that works for everybody, to where we can just chit chat, discuss true crimes or anything weird. Like I said, there'll be stuff like disappearances, unexplained, just all kinds of stuff like that. If you have any kind of story that is weird or strange or interesting that you would like to tell, then comment it down below, because I'm always interested in reading stuff like that. If you're not subscribed, then please subscribe if you would like. And once again, I hope everyone enjoyed this video, and sorry for how chaotic it is, and hopefully next time it will be a little more well put together and everything. And I hope to see everybody in my next video. Have a wonderful day, evening, whatever time it is where you're at. And that's it. We'll see you next time. Bye.